Hi everybody, my name is Hope.
And my name is Samson.
This is our brand new YouTube channel. We're going to call it Hope for Samson.
Hashtag HopeforSamson.
You can probably figure out why.
Yeah, exactly. You could figure out why. One big aspect to our story is that we paid off $95,000 in 22 months. And we want to tell you how. What I like to talk about is our first big money fight. In fact, this is probably the biggest fight of our marriage. So I'm going to set the scenario up.
Okay.
For those of you guys who don't know, I love video stuff and I love cameras and
This is all him.
gear and electronics and all of that. I'm a boy, okay? And one day I came to Hope. We were only married about 3 months, I think, at the time.
Brand new.
Maybe 2 months, actually. And I said, hey, there's this new camera that's out. I really want it. It's going to be about $1,000 at least. What do you think if I went ahead and got it? Or really, I was kind of just stating it like, of course, I'm going to get it. I'm just letting you know ahead of time.
My reaction probably was nicer in my memory than it was in Samson's memory. Basically, I said, what are we going to do about all these student loans that we have? We can't just keep buying toys and pretending like they don't exist and pushing them off and pushing them off. We really need to do something proactive.
And so just to set up our financial story, I guess, scenario, is we were in $92,000 in student loan debt.
Oof, cringe.
All of which came from my time in college. And she was
That's
actually...
why he's such a genius now.
And so she's the one who brought no debt into our
Community
marriage.
college.
And then on top of that, I had $3,000 that we owed on one of our cars. And so that was the entirety of our debt. So that added up to about $95,000. And so that was kind of looming over us. One big thing kind of right off the bat that we kind of struggled with actually was expectations.
We went to premarital counseling and kind of laid out a plan of what we wanted to do for our first 5 years and just some goals that we had. And one of those was tackling our debt in a very methodical manner.
So we had different expectations on how we would pay off that debt. We both had the understanding that we would pay off that debt, but in my mind, I had a 10-year plan.
Very different timelines. Very, very different.
And what was your timeline?
Oh, maybe a couple of years, like maybe 3 max. Like I thought we were really gonna just hurl everything we had at it.
The tortoise and the hare, we know how that story ends. So I was very tortoise-like, and I said, 10 years, that's the plan. And we're going to take our time with it.
I don't know if we ever actually voiced that to each other before our big fight.
No, so that was the clash in expectations.
Yeah.
So I had this in my mind, and she had this in her mind, and 2 months in, we clashed.
Yes.
So the fight ended with Hope was a little bit in tears.
Mm-hmm. When I get really, really angry, I start crying.
And I was angry, and all of my anger came from, well, why does she just trust me? I'm her husband. Charlie.
We eventually made up because that's our son.
It was just kind of like a shot at my manhood. She didn't trust me enough to handle our finances, and she didn't see what I was seeing. And so we walked away pretty much. I had to leave the house, actually, because I was just so furious. Hope was really mad at me also because I hadn't mowed the lawn yet. And if you know me, I hate lawn work or outside or sun or grass or anything. I like indoors. I'm an indoor cat. I'm already angry, and I'm doing something that's going to make me even more angry, which is mowing the lawn. I decided to download an audiobook that maybe would help me with this whole financial situation. So I downloaded this book by a guy named Dave Ramsey called Total Money Makeover.
Shameless plug.
But when they have an unlimited supply of money from the government insured by stupid people like you and me and signed up for stupid people like this guy who didn't even add up what his costs were going to be until he was halfway through, this is a whole group of stupid people in a pile.
I couldn't stop listening to the book. And by the end of that day, I knew that Hope was right, but I had a little bit too much pride to say that and admit that. So I ended up just going inside and ignoring the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds about right. The first few months of our marriage, I was just kind of waiting for Samson to take the lead. I didn't want to be this nagging wife that had all these expectations and demands. I wanted to be somebody that was supporting him, and I didn't want to be the one making the financial decisions. And so a couple months in, I became pretty frustrated because it felt like every time I brought it up, Samson would become offended and hurt and feel like I was attacking him because of his student loans. I eventually told God, I'm not gonna fight with my husband about this anymore. It's really not fruitful and it doesn't do any good. And so if anything's gonna change in our marriage, then it's gonna have to come straight from God and not from me. And I'm just gonna stay quiet. And so that's what I had decided to do.
So a few weeks later, I was going out of town for a friend's bachelor party in Austin. And so I'm driving down to Texas and I'm hanging out with one of my friends, Dane, on the ride down. And so I'm telling about this whole fight that we're having. In that process of just talking with him, I come to this realization that, man, I really need to admit that I'm wrong. And I really need to deal with this financial situation. Right? We need to deal with this $95,000 that's hanging over our heads. After talking with Dane, we kind of made a plan on how I would have the conversation. So I got back home and I sat down Hope and I said, hey, I want to tell you something. I think I'm wrong. I think we need to pay off this debt. And I want to commit to it just as much as you're committing to it. And so we made a decision that day to be on the same path. Now, we'll tell you a little bit about that later on in another video of where that path took us. 2 months into our marriage, that fight probably had the potential of taking our marriage one of two directions.
Yeah.
Right? One was towards endless fights and arguments over money. And then the other one was towards discipline and being able to make the right decisions.
And unity on those decisions.
And so we just want to leave you right there in our story. And hopefully next week we could pick up and tell you a little bit more about how we paid off our debt. And hopefully our hope is that we give you hope in your journey, whether it's dealing with finances or dealing with another area of difficulty in your life.
If you guys liked watching this video, go ahead and click below and subscribe to our channel and you'll see more of this cutie.
That cutie?
That cutie.
And also this cutie.
And that cutie.
That's right. See you guys.